Good afternoon, this is Jeremy Smith with Hot Takes 2018 Major League Baseball spring training coverage after Week 1. Let's get right to the action. Jairo Munoz wasn't even supposed to be in the lineup Wednesday for the Cardinals in their 10-9 comeback against the Orioles, but by the 7th inning, manager Mike Matheny was more than happy that he was. Starting in right field for late scratch Rangel Ravelo, Munoz hit 2 home runs in St. Louis's 8-run 7th inning. The first was a solo homer against Andrew Falker that brought the Cardinals to a 9-2 score down by 7 and began an improbable rally. Later on in the same inning, you would see him step to the plate again and smack a 2-run shot, this time against Stephen Klimack. That would tie the game at 9-9. The Cardinals' number 12 prospect finished the day 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs. Next piece of business, let's talk about Yu Darvish. He's going to make his first appearance with the Cubs when they start today against the Rockies at Sloan Park in Mesa, Arizona. The Cubs just signed Darvish to a 6-year, $126 million contract in February and are eager to see what Darvish will bring to the rotation after an impressive batting practice with onlookers watching. Here's Joe Madden and what he has to say about Darvish.
Honestly, they all look really good, but my impression from the side as an opponent's always been when he's really right on that he's got this slow fastball that has great carry. I walk up and that's all they're talking about. So obviously he's feeling pretty good about himself. He looks really lean out there. His delivery looks clean. The ball is definitely coming out of his hand well. I know it's early. I'm certain that his adrenaline was flowing a little bit right there, but he threw the ball great with great conviction. But I'm more as a purist. I looked at the delivery and how the ball was reacting at home plate. It was outstanding. Since that first conversation, we have not spoken a whole lot, but from that first conversation, I've gotten some really good feedback about how he feels about being here, so it's good stuff.
The Cubs have got a lot of great pitching prospects and have even recently announced that it will be Lester who will make the opening day run for the Cubs. But speaking of Cubs pitchers, Jake Arrieta, wow. World Series champion, 2015 Cy Young winner, and now perhaps the best option remaining on the free agent pitching market. It's said that the Brewers, the Nationals, Yankees, Phillies, Rangers, and Orioles are among the teams continuing to monitor the available top pitching spots on the free agent market. According to MajorLeagueBaseball.com's John Paul Morosi, Arrieta definitely fits this bill. And I don't know about everybody else out there, but as much as I'd love to see him stay with the Cubs, you cannot deny that he would be a great asset to the Nationals and could even lead a great arm to the Cardinals should they decide to pick him up as well. Well, let's take a look at this past week's scoreboard and see how things lined up around the spring training. If you look on the 23rd, we had a couple of impressive runs. Most notably, you'll see that the Dodgers, taking on the White Sox, came out with a 13-5 victory. That was a great game full of action. Moving on to February 24th day 2 of spring training, you would see the Cardinals decimate the Mets with a 10-5 score. The Rockies beat Cincinnati 11-4, and Cleveland coming out on top by a 9-point margin. Wow, talk about impressive. Cleveland's going to be another team that's going to be hard to contend with this year at the rate things are going. And I know it's only the first week, but let's face it, a lot of these guys are playing mid-season caliber ball already. Move on to the 25th, Sunday. This was an interesting day because first off, you got the opportunity to see for the first time ever the Seager brothers, Corey and Justin, facing off on opposing sides of the field, which would turn out to be a kind of slow and low-scoring game. Just came out with a 2-0 win for the Mariners, but nonetheless was definitely a monumental moment for those two young men and their family. The Mets would come out on top of Miami 10-3. Cubs coming out on top of the Giants 12-10. Moving on to the most recent games, let's look at what we had going on yesterday. Looks like we had Cleveland coming out over the Angels 15-3. You got San Diego topping the Dodgers 10-5, which is a real big surprise. I mean, Kershaw is looking strong. He come out throwing 5 strong Ks right off the bat, but still they just could not hold on for that win. You see, Colorado took on Arizona and came out ahead 9-3, and we had one of our 6 ties of the week when San Francisco and Milwaukee faced, that game ending 10-all. St. Louis and Baltimore, 10-9. We've already talked about this. Man, it was a great game. Munoz was on fire, no doubt. There is a lot of talent coming up in that Cardinals organization. People in St. Louis are definitely going to be happy with what they're seeing this year. Looking at the standings for the Grapefruit League, we can see right now that the top 5 are Boston with a 6-1 record. Detroit, believe it or not, Detroit right there with them. And that's what's amazing. If you remember just a few years ago, Detroit could not buy a win, folks. Now Detroit is coming out saying we're going to be contenders. The Yankees, no surprise there. They are definitely strong. We saw a great 2-run shot over the scoreboard. I would have loved to have included in the show, but we were limited on time. Miami and Houston round off your top 5 on the Grapefruit League. Looking over to the Cactus League, you've got the Kansas City Royals with an undefeated 4-0 right now, but don't let that fool you. Milwaukee and Chicago are hot on their trail. Milwaukee with a 5-1, it looks like, record, possibly 6-1. I'm sorry, but I cannot see that right now. But nonetheless, Milwaukee is looking strong. They are going to be contenders. Them and the Cubs have had a great rivalry for the last few years. Should prove to be an even better rivalry this year, like you see with the Cubs, 4-1, trailing in at the 3rd spot. And the last 2 rounding out would be the White Sox and Cleveland. And let's not forget, the White Sox have 5 strong potential players coming up into their lineup this season as well. We've managed to skip over. There it is. Let's look at the American League and National League standings. If we were to look at it right now at the end of week 1 of spring training, and I know, like I've said before, this does not really count, but hey, it's good to get an idea of what our teams are looking like for the prospects down the road. You can see that the top 5 on the American League, Kansas City, Boston, Detroit, the Yankees, Houston, they're running wild. Chicago White Sox coming in right there on that number 6 spot. Over to the National League, once again, no surprise, Milwaukee and Chicago, both of them battling hard for those first 2 spots just after 1 week of play in spring training. Miami, the New York Mets, and San Diego rounding out the top 5 with the St. Louis Cardinals hot on their heels right now with a 3-3 record coming out of the first week of spring training. That being said, that's about all the time we have for today. But before we leave, I want to set up a new segment we're going to do every week. We are going to leave you with the play of the week. This is Jeremy's pick of the week. I know there's going to be a lot of plays out there that aren't going to make the cuts. I wish I could make them all, but we can only pick one each week. So here it is. This week's Jeremy's play of the week is Machado's grand slam in the bottom of the 3rd against St. Louis on Wednesday. Until next week, this is Jeremy saying, see you later and enjoy baseball season. Thanks for watching.
That ball's crushed, left field, back it goes, and that ball is gone. There's a grand slam for Manny Machado and a 4-0 Orioles lead. So Machado gets into it, hits it out, and the Orioles grab a big lead early on 1 swing.